For many years I heard people saying the same phrase, "For me, it's too late." They worked their entire lives, woke up early, kept schedules, took orders, paid bills. They did exactly what they were taught was the safe path. And even so, today they live in fear of their financial future. Here's a truth that few like to face. Working hard doesn't guarantee wealth. Working hard without financial intelligence just keeps a person busy, not free. Time passes anyway. And when you don't take control of money, money starts to control you. Bills arrive every month, the salary comes in and goes out fast, and the feeling is always the same. Much effort, little progress. The biggest mistake wasn't earning little. The biggest mistake was not learning how money works. When you depend only on a salary, you depend on someone. And depending on someone financially is giving up your own freedom. Age doesn't matter. As long as you don't change the way you think, the result will always be the same. If nothing changes, 5 years from now, the situation will be the same or worse. But if you decide to change now, even in silence, even with small steps, the game starts to turn. Wealth isn't born from noise, rush, or luck. It's born from different decisions made at the moment when most believe it's no longer worth it. And that's exactly why there's still time. Imagine someone who worked their entire life. Decades waking up early, keeping schedules, taking on responsibilities and doing everything that seemed right. On paper, this person did everything right, but in reality, they remained trapped in financial difficulties. This portrait is more common than it seems. This person believed that security came from employment, believed that loyalty to the company would bring stability, believed that, with time, money would start to be left over. The problem is that time passed, the effort continued, but freedom never came. Here's the truth that few face. Working a lot is not the same as building wealth. When all income is used only to pay bills, financing, interest and taxes, money never has a chance to grow. This is financial stagnation. You make an effort every day, but remain in the same place. The mistake wasn't lack of work. It was lack of strategy. Without assets generating income, the person depends eternally on their own physical effort and time. And time, unlike money, cannot be recovered. Each year that passes without financial planning makes the way out harder. This is how many people reach 50 or 60 tired, worried and frustrated, not because they failed as professionals, but because they never learned to make money work for them. And as long as this mentality doesn't change, the cycle repeats month after month. If you want to get rich in silence, the first step isn't to earn more money. It's to know exactly where you want to go. During years, many people just work, pay bills, and hope that at some point their financial life will improve. This never works. Money without direction disappears. That's why the first step is to define a clear, specific financial goal with a deadline. It's not enough to say, "I want to save money." That's too vague. The goal needs to be measurable, something like, save a specific amount in 6 months. When the goal is clear, your mind starts to see opportunities it previously ignored. Without a target, any path works and no results appear. With the goal defined comes the second step, which requires maturity, conscious cutting of expenses. This isn't about suffering, but about intelligence. Each expense must answer a simple question. Does this bring me closer to or further from my goal? If it takes you further, it needs to be eliminated or reduced, at least temporarily. Many people live trapped in expenses that seem small, but when added up, consume months of effort. forgotten subscriptions, impulse purchases, automatic habits that generate no real value. Money drains away in silence while the future gets further and further away. This moment requires honesty. You need to look at your finances without excuses, without emotional justifications. It's not about eternal deprivation, it's about priority. Those who don't define priorities end up being controlled by their own expenses. When you cut what isn't essential, something powerful happens. Money is left over. And even more important, clarity is left over. You begin to realize that wealth doesn't come from how much you earn, but from how much you can keep and direct. These two steps seem simple, but are ignored by most. And that's exactly why they work. Those who have the courage to define a clear goal and adjust their lifestyle begin to leave stagnation and enter the path of silent wealth. After defining a clear goal and organizing expenses, an inevitable truth emerges. Saving has limits. There comes a point where cutting expenses isn't enough. That's where creating new income sources comes in. Getting rich in silence doesn't mean working to exhaustion at the same job. It means stopping depending on a single source of money. When all your support comes from one place, you're vulnerable. One unexpected event is enough for everything to collapse. Most people think that extra income is something complicated or unrealistic. But in practice, it almost always comes from simple skills, already acquired knowledge, or basic services that the market values. Often what's missing isn't ability, it's vision. You don't need to quit your current job. You need to use your free time more intelligently. A small side activity, when well organized, can generate money that didn't exist before. And this extra money has a strategic role. It accelerates the process. Instead of spending this additional income, you direct it toward your financial goal. This is how growth starts to gain speed, not with big leaps, but with consistency. Creating new income sources also changes your mentality. You stop thinking only as a worker and start thinking as someone who solves problems and delivers value. The more value you deliver, the more money returns. This step is decisive because it breaks the cycle of dependency. From the moment you prove to yourself that you can generate money outside of traditional employment, your vision expands. You understand that wealth doesn't come from physical effort, but from the ability to create solutions. It's at this point that many people begin, silently, to change their financial level. After organizing expenses and creating new income sources, a common mistake arises: saving money without a greater purpose. Saving is important, but investing is what makes money grow. If money sits still, it loses value over time. Inflation works against you every day, in silence. That's why waiting to have a lot to start investing is a dangerous delay. The right time is now, even if it's with small amounts. What builds wealth isn't the initial amount, but regularity. Investing a little every month creates a powerful habit. Over time, this habit transforms into discipline, and discipline builds results. Here comes one of the most important concepts of financial education. Money can work for you. When you invest, each applied amount starts to generate returns. And when these returns are reinvested, something almost invisible at first happens, but extremely strong in the long term: accelerated growth. Many people ignore this step because they expect quick results. But silent wealth doesn't work with haste. It works with consistency. Those who invest early, even little, give time an advantage. And time is the greatest ally of those who understand the game. Investing isn't gambling. It's studying, understanding risks, starting simply and maintaining discipline. The goal here isn't to get rich overnight, but to build a solid foundation that grows while you continue living your life. When you understand this, money stops being just something that comes in and goes out of your account. It becomes a tool, a silent employee who works every day for your future. After you start organizing money, generating extra income and investing, you notice something important. Time and energy are even more valuable resources than money. If you waste these two, everything else loses strength. Getting rich in silence requires choices. Not every invitation can be accepted. Not every conversation deserves attention. Not every habit needs to continue. Many people remain poor, not from lack of money, but from spending too much time on things that generate no return. Each wasted hour is a lost opportunity to learn, produce, or plan. And the problem is that time cannot be recovered. Unlike money, which can be earned again, time is gone forever. Protecting your energy means moving away from negative environments, from people who only complain, and from habits that drain your concentration. When you constantly live with negativity, your mind enters survival mode, not growth mode. Here comes silence. You don't need to explain your plans to anyone. When you talk too much, you lose focus. When you expose yourself too much, you get distracted. Those who truly build wealth work quietly, away from opinions that don't pay your bills. Organizing your routine is an essential part of this step. Setting schedules, creating focus blocks, and treating your financial goals with the same seriousness you treat your main job completely changes the pace of results. When you learn to protect time and energy, your productivity increases, your decisions become clearer, and your financial progress accelerates. Not because you make more effort, but because you stop wasting. After defining goals, cutting expenses, creating new incomes, investing and protecting your time, everything depends on a simple but decisive word: discipline. Without discipline, even good strategies fail. Financial discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when there's no desire. It's following the plan in good months and especially in difficult months. Many people know what to do, but few execute consistently. Here comes the most important rule: pay yourself first. As soon as money comes in, a part should already have a set destination. It's not what's left at the end of the month. It's what you set aside at the beginning. Organizing money into categories helps maintain control and avoids impulsive decisions. A simple model works precisely because it brings clarity. A part for basic necessities, ensuring stability. A part directed to savings and investments, building the future. A part for financial education, because those who stop learning fall behind. A part for leisure, because balance is also important. And a part reserved for unexpected events, preventing any problem from destroying the plan. Discipline isn't extreme rigidity. It's consistency. It's repeating good financial habits month after month, even when no one is watching. This is what transforms small actions into big results over time. Those who develop discipline stop being hostage to emotions and start acting with awareness. Money stops commanding and you take control. This step is silent, almost invisible to those on the outside, but it's where wealth truly begins to consolidate. We arrive at a step that many people avoid, but which is essential for anyone who wants to get rich: learning to sell. Selling isn't deceiving, pressuring, or insisting. Selling is communicating value. It's showing how something can solve a real problem. Those who understand this realize that somehow everyone sells all the time, even without realizing it. If you don't know how to sell, you always depend on someone who does. And depending on someone to generate income limits your growth. When you learn to sell, you gain control over how much you can earn. Selling starts with communication. Knowing how to explain an idea simply, clearly, and honestly is already a valuable skill. The better you communicate, the more people trust you, and trust generates opportunities. This step is especially important for those who create extra income or entrepreneur in silence. It's not enough to have skill, product, or service. You need to know how to present this to the market. Many competent people earn little because they don't know how to position themselves. Ethical selling is service. You help someone solve a problem and in return, receive money. When this exchange is fair, everyone wins. Learning to sell also strengthens self-confidence. You realize you don't depend only on diplomas or positions. You depend on your ability to generate value. And this ability grows with practice, not with theory. Those who master this step accelerate all the others. Because selling well expands income, creates new opportunities, and strengthens the construction of silent wealth. Now it's time to put together everything that's been said so far, because many people fail not from lack of information, but from not connecting the dots. You learn that silent wealth begins with a change in mentality. Define a clear goal, control expenses, create new income sources, invest early, protect time and energy, maintain financial discipline, learn to sell. These steps form a system. Isolated, they help little. Together, they transform lives. The big problem is that most stop at knowledge. They watch videos, read books, agree with everything, but don't apply. Knowing doesn't change anything. What changes is doing, even with fear, even without perfection. Here's a direct warning: if you don't execute, someone will execute in your place. And those who execute reap the results. Time keeps passing. 6 months from now, you can be in a better situation or in exactly the same place. The difference won't be in luck, nor in the economy, nor in other people. It will be in the decisions you make from now on. Wealth doesn't emerge from a big stroke of luck. It's born from the repetition of small, well-done actions. It's simple, but it's not easy. And that's exactly why few succeed. If you want different results, you can't act like most. You need to apply in silence, with focus and consistency. Silent wealth isn't about showing, it's about building. While many seek appearance, those who understand the game seek freedom. Freedom to choose, to say no, to live with tranquility. And this freedom isn't born from shortcuts, but from consistent decisions made every day. Getting rich in silence means waking up early when no one is watching, studying when no one is praising, organizing money even when you feel like spending. It means trading immediate pleasure for future security without needing to prove anything to anyone. The truly rich person isn't the one who shows off, it's the one who sleeps in peace. It's the one who doesn't depend on a single salary. It's the one who has control over their own time. Throughout these steps, you realize that wealth isn't an event, it's a process. Each small right decision strengthens the next. Each month of discipline builds a more solid foundation. And when you realize it, the result is already there, silent, consistent, and real. 6 months don't change everything, but they change the direction. And those who change direction change destiny. Don't expect applause. Don't expect approval. Most only understand the result, never the process. Start today, execute in silence, because in the end, the true victory isn't appearing rich, it's being free. There's a silent factor that defines who grows financially and who remains stuck: the environment. You can apply all the previous steps, but if you continue surrounded by the same ideas, conversations, and habits, progress is slow. People who only think about paying bills rarely talk about assets, opportunities, or growth. And what you hear every day shapes your decisions. Getting rich in silence also means changing what enters your mind. What you hear, watch, and talk about directly influences how you use your money. If your circle normalizes debts, excessive consumption, and constant complaints, this becomes the standard. It's not about abandoning people, it's about not adopting limiting beliefs. You can continue respecting everyone, but you need to choose better who influences your financial decisions. When you start consuming the right content, learning from those who have already built wealth, and observing how financially intelligent people think, something changes. You begin to see money as a tool, not as an end. This change is internal and silent. No one sees it, but it redefines daily choices. Those who change their mentality change their behavior. Those who change their behavior change their results. That's why, even before big financial gains, an invisible gain occurs: clarity. And clarity is what separates those who work their entire life from those who build wealth with strategy. One of the greatest enemies of wealth isn't lack of money. It's poorly managed emotion. Fear, anxiety, comparison, and financial impulse sabotage important decisions, almost always in silence. Many people lose money not because they get the numbers wrong, but because they act in the heat of the moment. They buy to relieve frustration, invest from euphoria, give up from fear. These emotional decisions create a cycle of regret and stagnation. Getting rich in silence requires self-control. It means learning to pause before spending, before investing, before deciding. The simple habit of waiting and analyzing avoids mistakes that cost months of work. When you master your emotions, money stops being an emotional response and becomes a rational tool. You don't spend to impress, don't invest by trend, don't compare yourself with others' progress. This step is invisible but powerful. While many react, you respond. While many rush, you observe. With time, this financial maturity creates consistency. You make fewer mistakes, maintain focus, and follow the plan even when the external environment is unstable. This is how wealth grows without noise. Those who control emotions control decisions, and those who control decisions build wealth silently and lastingly. Thinking like an employee is focusing only on the task, the schedule, and the salary. Thinking like an owner is looking at the whole. It's constantly asking, does this generate value? Does this grow over time? Can this work without my constant presence? When you start thinking like an owner, even without having a business, you start acting differently. You seek efficiency, observe costs, identify improvement opportunities, and think long-term. This mentality changes the way you deal with money and work. Getting rich in silence means developing this strategic view. Instead of just executing, you start planning. Instead of trading time for money, you look to build something that continues generating value. This change doesn't require abandoning your job. It requires awareness. You start small, testing ideas, creating simple systems, adjusting routes. Gradually, you realize you don't need to do everything alone, nor all the time. Those who think like an owner build assets. Those who only think like an employee depend on continuous effort. This step is internal, almost imperceptible to those on the outside. But inside, it redefines daily decisions. And it's these silent decisions that, over time, create financial freedom. Many people consume financial content every day. They read books, watch videos, save inspiring quotes. Still, they remain in the same place. The problem isn't lack of information. It's excess theory without practical application. Silent wealth requires simple and constant action, not big movements, not complex decisions. Small attitudes repeated every day are worth more than perfect plans that never leave paper. When you learn something new, the question shouldn't be, does this make sense? But rather, how do I apply this today? It can be a small change, almost invisible. Adjust an expense, study a topic for 20 minutes, organize an amount to invest, test a simple income idea. Most get stuck because they wait for the ideal moment. But the ideal moment never comes. Those who grow financially start with what they have, the way they can, and improve along the way. This step requires humility, accepting that you don't need to understand everything to start. You just need to take the next possible step. Clarity comes with movement, not before it. Those who transform knowledge into action build advantage over time. While others accumulate information, you accumulate progress. And continuous progress, even small, generates big results in the long term. This is how wealth grows in silence. Less accumulated theory, more applied action. After everything that's been said, one truth becomes clear. Wealth isn't luck. It isn't inheritance, and it isn't noise. Wealth is decision. Most people spend their lives waiting for the right moment, the ideal scenario, perfect security. But those who build wealth understand something simple. The right moment is when you decide to change behavior, not when conditions become easy. Getting rich in silence means taking total responsibility for your own financial life, without blaming the past, without blaming the system, without blaming anyone. When you take control, the game changes. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about not stopping. Each conscious choice, each adjusted habit, each small repeated action creates a cumulative effect. At first, almost no one notices. After a while, results appear. And when they appear, they seem fast to those who didn't see the process. Silence is your greatest advantage. While others talk, you build. While others consume, you invest. While others give up, you continue. If this content made sense to you, like this video. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share it with that person. Sometimes a simple share is the push someone needs to change their life. Now the decision is in your hands. Watching ends here. Applying starts now.